Well, it's another time to make another video, even though I think I'm making these videos mainly of my own private viewing. But everything I do is for my own private enjoyment or a way to what's the word? Fill up time with some kind of activity that is not meaningless. So yeah, I'm going, today is February the 6th, 2016. It is 6:37 at night, according to my clock. This clock was given to me by my wife many, many years ago, and I don't have a wristwatch, but I'm always aware of time because I'm a prisoner of time. I'm flowing with time. Time has a beginning and time has an end. There is the book of Genesis and there is the book of Revelation. There is the beginning of the world and there will be the end of the world, of this present world. So yeah, I'm sitting here. I've been by myself now going on 6 days. I have another. My wife comes back on the Friday, so I have another 6 days till my wife comes home from out west. So today I have been mainly reading David Foster Wallace, The Infinite Jest. I've read about 77 pages. It's kind of the novel is kind of dark, it's kind of sad, it's kind of depressing. I copied off the internet 2 essays on Infinite Jest. If you don't know that in March they're coming out with the 20th anniversary edition of Infinite Jest. And I pre-ordered it from Amazon. It has a different cover than this cover. The 20th anniversary edition. And the person who wrote the preface to that 20th anniversary edition is a guy named, his name is Bill, I don't know, what's his name? Bill Bissells. Anyway, he has, in the New York Times Sunday book review, there is an essay by him this week, Everything About Everything, David Foster Wallace's Infinite Jest at 20. That's really interesting little essay and positive. Also, I read something, it referred to an earlier essay in The Atlantic that came out in February of 1996, a review of Infinite Jest by a guy named Stephen Burketts. This came out, this is on the internet, The Atlantic. It's by Stephen Burketts. I recommend this. It's a good little review of Infinite Jest. As you know, in past videos, I've recommended the essays of Stephen. His name is S-V-E-N Burketts, B-I-R-K-E-R-T-S. I really like his writings. I have three of his books. So check those out. When I get a used book or buy a book, I read about the writer, and I think I have a biography of David Foster Wallace called Every Love Story is a Ghost Story, The Life of David Foster Wallace, R.T. Max. So I recommend this. Also, I want to just mention the books I have by David Foster Wallace. Consider the Lobster and Other Essays by David Foster Wallace. I have his book, The Broom of the System by David Foster Wallace. This was his first novel, if I remember correctly. And then I have his novel, Girl with a Curious Hair. And then I have his book, Supposedly Fun Thing I'll Never Do Again, Essays and Arguments by David Foster Wallace. And he was working on this novel before he committed suicide, The Pale King. It was published without his permission because he was obviously no longer living, but somebody finished it according to, if I remember correctly, notes or things that were left, and somebody put it all together, called The Pale King. And today I checked out the library. Today I volunteer at the local library used bookstore, and I checked out of the library both Flesh and Not essays by David Foster Wallace. Also, David Foster Wallace, he wrote the afterword to this book, Weinstein's Mistress by David Markinson. You'll notice that in this book there is an afterword written by David Foster Wallace. And I noticed that in this book I checked out of the library, that's in there, I think, if I remember, oh yeah. Yeah, Empty Plenum, David Markinson's Weinstein's Mistress is in here. So if you're into the writings of David Markinson, he also wrote this book, The Writer's Block by David Markinson. He's a postmodernist. If you look at it, there's no really narrative flow, there's no structure. It's just one sentences, that's what I'm saying. Also, when you come to essays, I recently read last year Pulphead Essays by John Jeremiah Sullivan. I recommend this book. I read a lot of essays, and I really enjoyed when I read this. So I recommend Pulphead Essays by John Jeremiah Sullivan. So that's what's going on here. This is my Montblanc pen. When we lived in Houston about 26 years ago, one time I went to, back in those days I had stomach problems, and I always noticed that doctors had in their thing these Montblanc pens, and I went to some business store in downtown Houston, and they had these on sale. This thing now is worth $500. I don't use it because the ink on paper, it smears a lot, and your hands get full of ink, and it's a mess. I used to use fountain pens all the time for a couple of years, and they were just a mess. My favorite pen is Opflow from Staples office supply store. I love these pens. I have whole drawer of them. As far as my diary, today I have finished on page 115 on my February diary. Tomorrow I start on page 116. I'm kind of superstitious about putting the page on at night of the following day, because sometimes I get inspired or something happens that I want to write down, and I hate scratching out numbers. It's one thing when you first start writing a diary, you're always editing or scratching out things. It took me many years to come to a place where I could write down exactly what is on my mind and what's on my heart. And that I don't have to throw anything away or edit it. I just write it and it's all there. It takes a long time to listen to your inner voice. You have all this noise, all this stuff going inside of you, and it takes a time of meditation and slowing down and finding your own inner voice, and then being able to write that inner voice down into diary form. That takes, because most people, I think, what they hear is the world, society, and culture. They're ruled by whatever is the fad or whatever people tell them is reality, what is on TV, what is in magazines, and what is in music. But to come to your own understanding of what reality is you need enlightenment. And as far as me as a Christian, I say you need to know Jesus Christ, and then as you come to know Jesus Christ, you become to see the way the world was meant to be seen as God created it. So like I said, tomorrow's a Sunday. Tomorrow's the beginning of a new week. And I have nothing planned tomorrow. Well, tomorrow's the Super Bowl, which I think is a bunch of hype, but I do watch football, even though I think it's a bunch of entertainment, and it's all money, and it's probably corrupt, but hey. Anyway, till the next time, bye.